live with Q&A with lawyers, and we're delighted here to have Ms. Yingyu Wang from AsiaLawNetwork.com. And a very exciting topic we have today. It is about fundraising. So, very exciting. A quick shout out to our partners, E27, General Assembly, Startup Bootcamp, FinTech Singapore, of course, for helping us to distribute the video. So a little bit about Ying. Very, very proud of her. Very distinguished IP lawyer, we know. Recently named one of the 40 brightest legal minds in Asia by Asia Legal Business. And also the only female lawyer named by the Legal 500 AP as the leading individual for technology, media, and telecommunications law. Yay, congrats!
Thanks for coming to my office.
Yes.
I told my colleagues that you guys are coming, so we clean it up a little bit. Shall we start with the tour first? We are very office proud, by the way.
Yeah, let's do that. Come.
Okay. So we're in a conference room. Can't show you much now because a lot of wires. But let's move out.
Ying has a very interesting office. The reason why we decided to do this tour is because Ying, even as a law firm, they have very few papers around, so we thought it might be very interesting.
We use cloud quite a bit. Security, we try our best. Okay, so this is the reception area. We have a bean to cup machine, if you ever want to come. We don't charge much, just a few dollars a cup. And then, okay, our sign, and then that's our waiting area. You might want to zoom in on a Christmas tree, it's quite cute. One of my colleagues came up with a brilliant idea of putting our faces on it. Yeah, I think they might not be very happy when you see Lynn. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the sweatshop where the real work takes place. Okay.
Everything you see is secret right now.
Okay, Brian, say hi. We're showing people the office. You're live. Hi. Okay.
How are you doing?
All right.
Whoa.
Oh no.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Come in. Oops. Okay, so this is the office. That's Kelvin. Hi. That's Lee Hin. The shy people went on leave already.
They knew we were coming.
Yeah, they knew you were coming. That's why. That's about the office as far as I can see. Yeah. Okay, let me show you the view, and then we can go back to the conference room. This is my office. It's normally as neat as this, by the way.
Oh, it's a standing table.
Yeah, so I actually can change. Yeah, this is.
Oops.
This is the view. Yeah.
Nice. I like a standing table.
Yeah, the standing table is awesome. I try to stand as much as possible, but not quite well. I just put it on standing position on purpose. But
That's cool. That's very nice.
alrighty.
Okay.
Very
Bye, guys.
Bye. So these are the guys who think that they're good looking enough to go on screen. Oh, you didn't go see Ugly. Alright, later. At the end.
Oh, oops. Okay, for those who are just joining in, once again, this is our last episode of this season of Q&A with lawyers with AsiaLawNetwork.com. Once again, we have Ms. Yingyu Wang from VL Law Corporation here to discuss something that's very, very exciting in the heart of all startups, which is fundraising and, of course, the legal issues around it.
Okay. Shall we start?
Yep, shall we start? A quick shout out again to E27, to Startup Bootcamp FinTech Singapore, as well as General Assembly for helping us. All's good. So Ying, we know you advise a number of startups as well as like tech companies, right? Also for funds, I believe.
For funds, yes, but more for the companies actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe you can tell us a bit about yourself, you know, your interest and why you stepped into TMT.
Oh, TMT I was actually a general litigator. So before that I did a bit of corporate work. So
Yes.
my experience a bit broader. I'm not a specialist per se. So my experience with tech and IP only started when I joined the firm about 4 years ago. But I guess I've always been very interested in in particularly software, SaaS, practice management systems. I'm quite boring. I like to test out new things. I'm not that tech savvy, but it's something that I'm interested in. So I think that
relative.
helps.
It's relative because I know you're very tech savvy amongst the lawyers.
But it depends on who you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. That's
so
nice.
I'm a firm believer that if something can be improved by using technology, then it should be used.
Right.
Yeah, I'm also interested in using the tech. So I think that really helps in understanding the issues. I mean, as a lawyer, I don't really need to have very in-depth technology knowledge, but I need to be able to know enough to elicit the relevant legal issues.
Correct.
So I think that's how it started.
Yes.
And because some of the startups we actually advise in the media space, and one of our big clients is also in the telco space. So it's a very natural progression for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
And IP is actually highly intertwined with TMT work. So that's really it.
Okay. Ying is going to spend a lot of time with us today to tell you all the legal issues surrounding fundraising. So if you have questions, remember to type into the comments box below, and we'll try to answer them as much as possible. And if we can't, we're actually publishing an article after this live streaming, so be sure to look out for those. So maybe we can start with the whole, how do you go about fundraising as a startup? Okay. A plan. Maybe we start off with a plan. You have a business plan.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the smoothest startup that I've met normally are those whereby the founders have a very clear vision of what they want.
Okay.
Okay. So they have an idea. I mean, everybody starts with an idea, but an idea is just an idea. And as my friend, who's a very active funder in Beijing, would say, he said he was a bit surprised when he came to Singapore at first, because in Beijing everybody's a co-founder, right?
Really, everyone.
And everybody's like very open about their ideas.
Correct.
Because the truth is, ideas cannot be protected. Ideas are ideas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the main thing is always about execution. So everyone is very open about ideas, and honestly, if you can think about it, somebody else would have also thought about
Agree.
it. Okay, so until and when you actually have a proper execution plan, or you've actually done something, I don't think you've started the journey yet.
Yeah, agree.
So I mean, I've met sometimes some of my friends. They will say, "Hey, Ying, I have this idea. What do you think about it, etc." I'm like, "Yeah, it sounds all well and good.
Yeah.
But have you put things in place? Have you started even putting down your plan? Do you know how much you need? Do you know, what's the market share that you need to conquer, etc." I mean, of course, it depends on what you have come up with. But until until you have those, until you have your key team in place, it's all up in the air.
Yeah.
You haven't started on your journey yet.
Yes, and of course, speaking to your potential clients, trying to get their buy-in.
Yes.
Yeah, first few customers of sorts. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you know, because you're a startup founder yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the few things that I've always, the few things I always ask is, okay, do you have an investor deck? I mean, investors deck sounds like you're trying to poach and get investment, but I mean, I call it investor deck because first you've got to make it appealing, but two, and more importantly, it actually includes your business plan.
Yeah.
Right? And that is the key. If you're the only person doing a business plan, it's not a business plan.
Yeah.
Right? You need a team. A team could be 2, it could be 3, but no man is an island. You definitely would need at least a co-founder with you. And with that, of course, comes problems, right?
Yeah.
I have had many people come to me because they have co-founders issues during the time when they're getting investment.
Oh my gosh.
And it's a pity because of the fallout.
Yeah.
The market share they have gained, etc. It's all down the drain because they didn't sort out all these issues right from the start.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone knows, you shouldn't go 50-50, but the truth also is, even if you go 49-51, by the time you need to win a vote by 2%, your partnership is not working out.
Right.
So I think everyone needs to be very clear what their contributions are.
Yeah.
There must be a certain buy-in. A contract between co-founders, I would think it's highly essential. It actually sets out the expectations. Yeah, and so this is something that these are all background work that you should have already done before you even think about getting investment.
Great. We do have a question coming in from Joey. Thank you, Joey. What are the factors startups should consider when trying to raise funds?
Oh, okay.
Great question, because we're going through a couple of them in the first part of this Q&A.
Okay.
So,
hi, Joey.
Yes.
So, what are the few factors? Okay, some of them are not really legal. I mean, no, not illegal, but I mean like they're not legal issues, but they're quite commonsensical. First thing, is it a need or is it a want? Right? Because that will affect your bargaining position. If it's a want because you hope to achieve a certain amount of market share, for example, then the first question is, what's your burn rate? Right?
Yes.
Is there anywhere to pare it down? One issue that I find most, that I would like to actually advise most startups is do not operate as if money is free.
Yes.
Even when you have the funds coming in, you should operate as a startup. You should be lean.
Yeah.
Right? I think founders who actually have pumped in money on their own, or they have come up with certain invention and the patent belongs to them personally, or they have left a high-paying job to come to do this. There's an opportunity cost.
Yeah.
These are factors actually that investors look into as well.
Yeah.
Right? And that will improve your bargaining power. Right? What other factors when you have to look at the investors. Who are these investors? What are the kind of investors you want? Is it a pre-A? Is it your seed fund, your angel round, your seed round, your A round, your B round? You have to have a certain idea in your head, at least up to a 3-year plan. In this 3 years,
how many rounds?
Yeah, how many rounds do you want?
Right.
I mean, there are pros and cons in having many series rounds, many semi-small little rounds prior to Series A.
Yeah.
One of the pros is if you stagger your rounds, every time the amount that you need to raise is lesser.
Yeah.
That's easier. It's less taxing on you as a founder. You know, when you're a startup founder, you're doing 10 jobs at one time.
Yeah.
Okay, raising funds is extremely tiring.
Very.
And it takes you away from the actual work.
Yes.
Right? So the good thing about having a semi-small round is that you get the money, you know that this would last you for, say, maybe another 6 months or a year.
Right.
Right? In 6 months or a year, then you might be in a different position to negotiate for a higher valuation, for example. So that's the pro of having many tiny rounds.
Yeah.
But of course, the con would be that it's tiring.
Yeah.
Right? But it may not be that tiring though,
right,
because you might already have interested investors.
Yeah.
Say if your first angel round is only 200,000 or 100,000, for example, you can easily get that.
Yeah.
Right?
From a few angel investors or something, right?
Yes.
Commit them first and then think about your next steps as well.
Correct. And if the angel investors themselves are very involved in the process, they believe in you, your next round will be easier because they would actually recommend you to their friends.
Okay.
Right? So that's I mean, of course, then again, it depends on how much you need.
Yes.
Right?
So quick recap on what we've discussed. Basically, before you go even thinking about needing money from an investor, think about your business plan, how much you need in order to get to your first milestone or the targets you've set for yourself, whether it's market share or whether it's a number of clients. And then think about, work backwards and think about what are the resources you need and whether you need that money. And is that money going to come from angel investors or do you need an institutional investor? You can also plan for a few rounds, which means that you might not want to give up too much equity at the beginning because you have to make sure that you survive and have enough equity at hand to the end.
I mean, rule of thumb, right? By the time you reach your Series A and you're no longer a majority shareholder, it's time you didn't do your planning well.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I've heard of a lot of horror stories when it comes to equity structuring, right?
Yes.
So, so rule of thumb, you must still at least have your majority at A round.
If it's a big A round, yes. But normally I would say special majority.
Right, okay, that's nice. So a quick shout out again to our partners, E27, General Assembly, Startup Bootcamp FinTech Singapore for partnering us with AsiaLawNetwork.com on this Facebook Live series. We're on last episode of this season, so we have Wang Yingyu here from VR Law Corp, and Ying is basically a very distinguished IP lawyer. She's also 40 40 brightest minds in Asian legal business. Okay, sorry, that's quite a mouthful. And
under 40.
Under 40.
It's the most
okay,
important
yes,
part.
that's sensitive. And the only female lawyer in your Legal 500 AP to be named in the category of tech, telco, tech, media, and telco.
Okay, I'll try not to cringe every time she tries to introduce me.
Yeah, I have to do it because it's an achievement, so we need to affirm her. Okay, we have another question going to Ying. What is the most important for fundraising in first stage? We only have idea and in Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
Thank you in advance.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are, but I think most important for raising fund in the first stage, like I mentioned, is it a want or a need? If it's a need, then you need to calibrate your business plan a bit more carefully. This very entrepreneur startup founder that I met, right?
Yes.
So in order to gain revenue, she actually made use of a lot of funds that would be good for potential clients. So that actually helps to supplement the revenue of the startup.
Right.
And because of that, when you have a good revenue, a good income, it will give encouragement to potential investors, and also it reduces the amount that you need. Right? So what is the most important thing for raising fund? There's too many important aspects. So first, you need to get your house in order. Okay, who's your core team?
Yeah.
All right.
Team is important.
Team is extremely important because it affects execution, and investors always look at execution. Idea, as good as they sound, is just an idea. All right. And we all know business plans get adjusted and tweaked. But if you don't even have a business plan laid out, it just means that you are, as a CEO or as a founder, you're not capable of even putting in a plan that may be executed. Right?
Yeah.
So I think execution is important, business plan is important. Clean up your house, make sure your team is all happy.
Yes. And things move.
Yes.
When you have a good team, things move. And when you don't, you basically end up spending all your time actually dealing with internal stuff, right?
Yes. And that takes you away. Yes.
Yeah.
And that takes you away from doing the important things, right? You need to know, as a founder, you're one person, what is your designated role,
right?
Besides getting funding, right? You need to have certain executive role, be it increasing business share, be it marketing, etc. So all these needs to be planned properly.
Cool.
Yeah.
We have a question from Zui. So Zui says, can startup founders solicit for funds publicly, say by posting on their personal Facebook timeline or Facebook groups?
Sure, why not? But well, I mean, of course you can. Of course you can. There's no law that says, oh no, you cannot, right? But having said that, you want to not look so desperate.
Yes, that's very practical.
This is not legal advice, right? This is commonsensical. But it's nobody. The terms of negotiations are always confidential, right?
Yeah.
And you would like to pick, if you can, the best investors, which may not be the one who comes up with the most money, but the one with the least onerous terms, or the one that you think can help you move your startup forward.
Also get your first few clients.
So it's important. I mean, I think I mentioned in the introductory video, one of my startup clients whom I'm really quite impressed with, he actually picks his investors.
Right.
I mean, of course he has a good product, and he himself is a very entrepreneur person, and that gives the investors confidence.
Right.
But when he picks his investors, it's not the money, because everybody is only putting in, I think in his first round it was quite small. It was like 50,000, 25,000. It's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he was smart. He wanted the team.
Yeah.
The team even at shareholder level.
Right.
Yeah, which is impressive, because when the next round of shareholders come in, they're like, oh, look at all these shareholders. There's a doctor, there's a lawyer, there's a etc. who are in the know. Then they will go, okay, these people have confidence in this team.
Yes.
So should I. And they're actually happy paying a high, share.
A premium, right?
Yeah, a premium over the original first round.
Yeah, because they've got the first group of people involved.
Correct.
and committed into the business.
Yes. So this is what I mean by sometimes it's actually quite good to start small, small rounds, or either that even if you're going for say a $500,000 round, you can break it up into smaller pieces simply because this is a person that you want to bring in. Yeah. But having said that, it's quite a pain dealing with multiple shareholders.
Yeah.
So that's an art by itself also.
Yeah.
Pros and cons, it depends. Yeah.
Well, later on we'll be talking into structuring of these funds coming into a company, and you might want to know some of the tips that Ying has for us. Okay, now maybe we can go a bit into like even, everyone talks about funding, and then you talk about, then we need a term sheet, what should be in the term sheet, what are the factors we should think about. Actually, maybe it shouldn't come when you need investments, right? It should even be before.
Yes. I think I know it sounds a bit strange, but if you see a lawyer when you're not in desperate need, and when you see a lawyer because it's simply good planning, the latter is always better. Yeah, because you won't rush to see a lawyer, that's first place. And secondly, when you have certain advice in place, right, it puts you on the front foot. For example, sometimes when we get term sheets, I'll be like, you're only getting like less than $500,000, right? Why is your term sheet so complicated?
Yeah.
And I mean, Googling and all is great, but if it's just your first round and you foresee that you are going to have multiple rounds subsequently, having a very complicated first round with preference shares, with lots of funny structures that I've seen, is really not ideal. Is really not ideal because that will affect the confidence of the investors that come in the second round.
Yep, this is very interesting because we get a lot of requests from startups in terms of like drafting, shareholder agreements and things like that. So one of the things that we were hoping to see or to advise, some of the startups is not advice, but to let the startups know that you can actually pay a lawyer for a consult first. So when you are negotiating with the funds, you actually know what to negotiate on and not just take their term sheet, right?
Yeah.
Because Ying, you mentioned like some of the startups that you have met. When the term sheet is there,
you can't move already because it's so. I mean, if you see your lawyers as a draftsman, then we will just be draftsmen.
Yeah.
I mean, of course we can try to mitigate, but we are working with very narrow confines.
Yes.
Right. But if you have spoken to a lawyer beforehand, before you even approach an investor, right, then you would have the structure in mind already.
Yeah.
Right? Is the investment coming in as a form of loan, as equity? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. And then, I'm not saying no to preference shares, but the whole term angel investment, right?
Yes.
Connotes that these people are the ones that you want to be with until you exit, or at least when you reach your Series A. So having preference shares, honestly, there are mixed reviews about it. There are the pros and cons. So it depends on the circumstances. But like I said, if it's too complicated, you're going to have a very difficult time negotiating as well.
Yeah.
The more complicated it is, the more you have to be wary about it, and the higher your legal cost is.
Yeah.
Right. So
future costs, please take into consideration if your clauses and your term sheet are too complicated, you will actually be paying higher in legal fees later on.
And also I think when you have consulted a lawyer beforehand and you're the one who approaches an investor and say, okay, I'm actually looking for convertible notes. I'm actually looking for injection in ordinary shares.
Right.
I'm floating how many percent of my shares, for example.
Yeah.
Right. One, it puts you on the front foot, right? You are not beholden by the terms that other people set.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Two, the investors will then know, okay, this guy kind of know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that also builds confidence. Right? So, and then it will also help you weed out investors that you don't want.
Yeah.
Because investors who come in with very onerous terms, you've got to ask yourself whether, they're going to be good for you in the long run.
Yeah. Because you have to deal with them for the rest of your startup life.
Yes.
So, I mean, as long as your startup survives.
And I mean, I have advised a few founders in the background who try to extricate themselves from very, very onerous terms like reverse vesting arrangements, etc. Which I guess, I mean, I can understand from the part of the VC, but you've got to ask yourself, okay, if it's, for example, if it's a $1 million, is it worth while me losing my 100% to 10% until I fulfill 4 years? Or should I get $100,000 to $200,000 funding first and build it organically?
Yeah.
Right? Haste is from the devil, right? So I always say that you should build up, incrementally.
Okay, that's interesting. I have like a number of startup friends who actually asked me this question at the beginning when we started ALN, right? How do you even think about structuring, or do you just start? So I always tell them, you need to think beyond just yourself, right? If you haven't even met your co-founder, or you haven't got your co-founder on board, but you have to plan how much you're gonna set aside for a co-founder, your future employees, ESOP, employee stock options program. It has already been thought of from the start, right? Is that something that you believe in as well? Or
okay, for the co-founder portion, or for key stakeholders, for sure.
Yes.
Because you would know yourself, right? Say if you are a founder with very profound tech knowledge, then you know that a CTO might not be that important to you.
Yes.
Right? But maybe a marketing person would be, for example. Okay? If you are a CEO kind of material, then you would know that what are your weaknesses and what kind of gaps you need to fulfill. These people are your key stakeholders. I would not put them under the normal employees structure. Okay, if people are crucial to you for the first 2 to 3 years, right, then you may want to consider a separate scheme for them.
Right.
Okay, then you have your usual vesting clauses, etc. Right. For ESOP, I think it also depends. You may or may not require ESOP. Right. I think sometimes the earlier employees might say, okay, I'm struggling, etc. But if you're giving market rate salary, you don't need to give ESOPs.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm being very practical here.
Yes.
Right. So unless somebody is you're looking at a pool of people who are taking a huge pay cut to join you, probably because they're suffering with you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But having said that, if you are planning to have an ESOP, before you approach an investor, you need to decide who is coming up with the ESOP shares. Is it the investors or you, or both? Right, because that will affect your structure of what you want to gain as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a quick recap again. We were talking about how you can actually better use a lawyer before actually agreeing to the terms of your VC or any funds that is pumping in money, or angel investors. It's better that you actually consult a lawyer and get a consult way before that, so at least you know what to agree, what not to agree, what you can negotiate on, what you shouldn't be negotiating on, and some of the potential structures. It also puts you in very good light, because the funds will then know that you know what you're thinking about, what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And also something else that we have spoken about is that how you should actually take your idea maybe three steps forward, right? Go and find out what people's response are for your product or for your idea. Get on the first 3 steps of doing or building the product so that you can get some feedback, right?
Yes.
So that when you go out and get funds, it's not like based on
your own assessment.
Yes, your own assessment.
Which will always be rose tinted. So
yes, I'll think that my idea is great. Okay, so maybe you can let us know some some tips with regards to like thinking about preference shares and convertible notes, because I've seen investors who wanted like the investment to be in terms of a loan or a convertible note or in preference shares. Okay. Right?
It doesn't constitute legal advice, so I'm just saying in general. So convertible notes, I think it's quite a popular tool that's being used.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps. I mean, as an investor, if you're a creditor, your rights are higher ranked than a shareholder, right? So they have the option. You have to decide whether it's a mutual option, a unilateral option, etc. I mean, there are certain market standards to it, but they are all negotiable, right? It depends on how good your product is and how kanchong the investor is, right? So that's one. But convertible notes, if you don't want to dilute your shares by too much, it's a good option to think about. Preference shares, there are various ways to work around shares without it having to be classified in a special class. Right? But preference shares, if you really want to go for preference shares, you've got to decide, is it redeemable? Is it convertible? Is it redeemable and convertible? Right? It's highly, not highly, it's unnecessarily complicated, as I said. at your pre-A structure.
Right.
So I think unless this is a investor that you don't really want,
Right.
Involved in your management,
Yeah.
then maybe you can consider preference shares.
Understand.
Yeah.
So if you don't want them to be involved on a day-to-day, then preference shares
Yes.
you can consider, but
But having said that, I've also seen term sheets where the preference shareholders have the same voting rights as the ordinary shareholders. So I'm like,
what's the point?
yeah.
Preference shares.
Yeah, then it's just that preference shares, it's good for the investors only because it means that they get back, they are ranked higher than ordinary shareholders in terms of insolvency, etc. So it's really quite not a very good situation, I think, for a founder.
Yeah, and for founders, I guess, are you really getting value out of the money, or are you going to be a slave to it, right? Because if you're giving preference shares and you're giving rights and you're giving voting rights and you're giving directorship, for example, then you need to reconsider if you're actually giving your business away.
Correct.
Or you're raising money for yourself.
Yes. And if it's your first round and an institutional investor comes in and see this, they will just laugh, because they know that they can negotiate for better terms than this, which is already not very good in your second round.
Yes.
So you have to be very careful. But Cherilyn, I just saw this very interesting question.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
From Kevin.
Okay.
This one? Which one?
Yeah, this one.
Okay. Do you have any advice for trying to get out of a bad VC arrangement? Let's say I made a mistake. How can I make sure that it doesn't ruin my company? Good question, Kevin.
I have advised a few founders out of tricky situations, but I think I'm not trying to sell services, but this is very specific. You need to speak to a lawyer to give the entire lowdown.
And the lawyer probably have to go through your contracts to see what.
Yes, and also I don't know what mistakes you have made, but I mean, we can try seeing whether the arrangement is avoidable, although I hardly doubt so, but there are ways around it. It's just, what is your bargaining power and what is your weak points. You just have to identify them. Yeah. But I think your questions, you need to speak to a lawyer specifically. Yeah.
Interestingly, I guess for bad, I've seen a number of such cases. I mean, amongst friends,
Yeah.
So one of the things is whether you still have control, I guess, in the business, which is dependent on your number of shares, or whether it's preference shares or voting shares, right? And also, whether it's you still have majority of the company. I mean, I've seen companies who step into an A round with the founder less than 10%, for example. Then
really?
Yeah.
See, it's cheaper come in and find a lawyer, right?
Yeah. That's true. But they've raised a lot of money. It's just that the founders have less than 10%. So there's all these different scenarios, which I think it really depends. I mean, whatever the lawyer has to say, it really depends on your current scenario. So you need to possibly state that. Okay. How about negotiation? I'm very curious, right? Do lawyers negotiate on behalf of startups?
I always say this, right? That if you are a startup, let the lawyers work behind the scene. Really, because when lawyers most of the VCs I know actually they are very, very well acquainted with legal terms, right? They float the same agreements all the time. They probably are not advised by lawyers on a case-to-case basis anyway, unless there are special clauses.
Right.
Yeah, so when you get lawyers involved, sometimes it's actually, most of the time it's actually not a good thing. Because, I have to say this, we do have a tendency to over-engineer because we want to cover our posterior.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So if you're a startup, try to get your lawyers to work in the background. One is cheaper.
Yeah.
Because when I'm asked to go for a negotiation, my charges are normally 5 figures because I have to go, right?
Yes.
But that's one. Two, it doesn't destroy the relationship between the parties. So I would say negotiate. Get your lawyers to identify the points. Right? What are the main issues that you should be wary about? What are the second tier, like you can choose to let go, you can choose to stick to it, so that it prepares you for negotiation.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, rather than getting the lawyers to negotiate.
Yeah. Okay. That's very important. You need to know the points before stepping into negotiation. And also, I think at the point when you're negotiating with funds, right? I mean, just a personal thing. You don't really have to agree to anything on the table.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You can bring it back and, of course, discuss with your lawyer again, and
Yeah.
then go forward again. So it makes you seem a bit more calm.
Correct.
And
I think it's sometimes we get too urgent, like too kanchong, right?
Because you have money on the table.
You have money on the table, and you're like, okay, fine, I'll agree. No, but it's actually not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it also shows a certain haste on your part. Yeah, I think. So it's good to be more calm and collected and say, okay, this sounds feasible. Let me come back to you.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Great. From Mark. So there's a question coming in from Mark. What kind of budget should we earmark for structuring work? When is too much and when is too little? Maybe we can break it down into the different phases of investments.
First, I think we're talking about legal budget, right? Because that's the only thing I can answer.
Yeah, I would
right.
think so, yes.
Yeah, and then two, structuring work. I would assume would be the term sheet and the contract. When is it too much or too little? Okay, honestly, if your deal is very straightforward, right? I think I always give a very wide range because I really don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it can be very complicated and you have like many pages, and
correct.
sometimes it's just
So and it depends on kind of contracts that's required, right? So if it's a straightforward SHA using the model constitution, I think 2.5 to 5,000 or not 100 should be enough. Yeah. Okay. Could we have liability issues also, lah? Okay?
Yeah.
So that should be more than. But having said that, don't come to lawyers and say, this is my term sheet, and then when we look at it, we'll be like, oh my god, because there's so many things.
Yeah.
You have an ESOP, you have which is a separate document. You have your employment agreements with your stakeholders, which again is another separate agreement. And then you have to change the constitution because there will be weird, funny terms in the term sheet.
Yep.
That would just increase the legal cost involved. Yeah.
So shareholders agreements also affect your articles of association and memorandum, right?
Yes.
So remember that legal work isn't just your SHA. If you're thinking of downloading something, I don't know, off a US site, it's not going to work because the terms will not stand. For example, if your AA, your articles of association, and your memorandum from your corporate secretary side does not match.
Yes.
That's the part where the lawyers have to make sure that it's consistent, and that if you want to exercise any of those clauses, you can.
I mean, based on my own experience, I think in general, if you're at your first few rounds, even until C, right, and your investors are largely individuals or minority, even if they're institutional, right, but they're still minority. I'll just stick to the model constitution. I mean, the Companies Act has changed.
Yes.
It's now called the Constitution,
right?
Not Articles of
Oh,
Constitution.
sorry.
No,
I need to be updated.
No, your old one would still suffice. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that the current Table A, which is the default that most companies use, right?
Yeah.
There is the model constitution, which more or less suffices. Yeah. So unless you're a terribly complicated company, just stick to the original one. That really cuts legal cost. One. And two, I think it's generally quite fair to the shareholders.
Both sides, yeah.
So I think don't get into anything too fanciful. I have had clients who come to me and their SHA plus all the time that I've spent with them, right, ended up to like $10,000 because they come up with really fanciful ideas.
Yes.
Which may or may not work, and then I have to work through every single one with them.
Right.
It's very painful, and then in the end I said, look, this doesn't work. I would suggest this, right? But then I've already spent the time going through with them to tell them that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are not raising a huge amount in the first round, just really, really keep it simple. Get the money. Work on what matters most, which is your product or your company, or
your business.
Yeah. The legal work, leave it to the lawyers.
To the funds.
To the funds. So the funds don't need my advice.
The funds don't need advice.
Yeah,
okay.
They are very, very well acquainted with this.
Okay, so for those who are just joining us, once again, I'm Cherilyn from AsiaLawNetwork.com, and we have Yingyu Wang here from AsiaLaw Corp joining us on our final episode of the season with Q&A with lawyers, right? And today we're talking about something that's very exciting, which is fundraising for startups. So if you have questions, please remember to type it in the comments box below because we're trying to answer them. And below, okay, and I think above you can see some other links. We will be also writing an article after this Facebook Live to recap some of the issues that we've brought up and also to answer the questions that we did not answer today. So Ying is one of the 40 under 40 brightest minds in Asia legal business, and also the only female lawyer in Legal 500 Asia Pac, right?
Yes.
In the category of tech, media, and telco.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
very proud of you once again. No, credit must be given when it's due. So
It's a bit embarrassing.
it's all good. So yeah, we were talking about a number of issues earlier on. It comes to planning your investment deck, knowing what your business plan is, what milestones you want to achieve, and how you can get through maybe the first 3 years of a business.
Yeah.
Right? How many rounds you want to?
Yes.
Of course, the best is not needing to have any investment.
Well, I guess that depends lah. I mean,
That depends,
if your business model is very much like Uber, then you would really need a lot of funding. I
Yes.
mean, but then again, how many businesses can be like Uber?
Yes.
$4 billion and still losing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So you've got to decide. You've got to know what category your business falls under.
Yeah.
I mean, I have seen some of my clients who are a little bit more conservative because they are already a revenue generating business. Yeah. So for their case, they're not even aiming for seed or angel because they're going to go straight to A. Yeah.
Right.
And they have the bargaining chips for A.
Right.
Right. So it depends on what your plan is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so also to recap, like multiple small rounds does not actually mean it's bad. It just means that you have to plan properly and make sure that you do not spend too much time.
Yes,
right,
and
dealing with
that you
shareholders.
can deal with the shareholders.
Yeah.
Dealing with the shareholders is another art that I think every startup founder who wishes to raise funds should master.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's as if you're going for IPO, but then you're not, and you're still dealing with all these shareholders who have access to your personal mobile at 12 midnight. So you need to be able to know how to communicate with them effectively. Very important.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about things like due diligence? Of course you get a term sheet, and when should you actually be releasing information about the company?
Oh, okay. Well, you have the usual NDA, etc., which most funds probably will not sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are always told this, right? I'm not going to sign an NDA. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't make sense. But I think we can always try.
Yeah.
I'm trying. But personal investors, maybe they will sign it. I have startups who are very, very, very insistent on the NDA, particularly because they have proprietary technology and they have not started their patent application yet. Right?
Yes.
So there are certain times where you need to insist on the NDA.
Yeah.
Because you have to protect your IP.
Yes.
Right. So if an investor does not see that, then I guess you just have to let him go.
Yeah.
Okay,
so the investor does not understand your business, right?
Well, it's not that, but it's just that you can't take the risk.
Yeah.
Don't take the risk.
Don't take the risk.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're showing from your laptop and you're not giving anything hardcore, then it will be an idea that the investor takes away. Unless he has a super memory, can memorize the source code now.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Otherwise, I think in those situations, the NDA would be almost compulsory.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is interesting. You're talking about IP and patents, right? So in what scenario must you be aware of when it comes to your company's IP or patent? Okay.
So IP rights. Very quick 101. There are a few categories. Okay, you have your patents, your trademark, your copyright, your confidential information, your registered designs. Okay, general category, right? If you have already started applying for a patent, more or less, and assuming that it's patentable, find a good patent agent, please, because
a good one would be able to tell you whether he thinks you know, it will master, it will pass the examiner's test, right?
Yeah.
So find a good patent agent if yours is a novel or technology that's a huge improvement.
Right.
Okay. So those who are inventors would know. I mean, even software, it's possible to get patent, but generally a bit more difficult. Okay. If it's not protected by patent, then if we're talking about source codes, etc., then it will be copyright.
Right.
Right. But copyright it's basically what is on paper. So if I am a very tech savvy person and I look at it, I know exactly what you're trying to achieve.
Yes.
Right. I don't really have to copy your source code. I might be able to come up with something else.
Yes.
Right. So then it's questionable whether, you know, this is protected under copyright or not, because it might not be. Then you have to choose other avenues like contractual protection, confidential information maybe. But confidential information very difficult because you have to sue somebody in court, which is good money for lawyers but bad for businesses. So so try to protect yourself contractually if that's the case.
So there's another thing, right? So what kind of contracts do you think these clauses have to come in?
Well, if you are exposing your source codes, I mean, technically, if you are going to a personal investor, if you're going to an institutional investor such as a VC or funds, they shouldn't actually see your source code.
Okay.
Right?
So
there's no reason for them to see your source code.
Yeah.
Prior to investment. Okay. But if you are thinking about getting a fund from, say, a big company that is like, say for example, a lot of the fintech companies, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to collaborate with banks, etc.
Yeah.
Those and they want to see whether you actually have the real thing.
Yes.
Right? You would need a strongly clad NDA and
strongly clad NDA.
NDA and non-competition, etc. Along that lines.
Okay.
Yeah. So it depends on who you're exposing your source codes to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand. So how about, for example, like you're collaborating with a company using their API, or you're giving your API, for example.
Okay.
Or someone wants to white label.
So licensing agreements.
Okay.
I think you also need to protect yourself. Very important. We have done. I mean, honestly, SHA, etc. Right? Those are not as complicated as the licensing agreements, because the licensing agreements has to be tailored to the product of a company.
Yeah.
So that you definitely need. Please go find a lawyer, because your IP rights are, if they are integral and essential for your company, please find a lawyer to do that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So for those, so for copyrights or IP, do you think all startups, at which point would they need to think about it?
Right from the start.
Right
But
from the
whether you need to spend money on it is a different issue.
Right.
Okay, so not all work is patentable, right? And patent's probably the most expensive IP rights to register for. Okay? Copyright, you don't need to register it. You just need to have proof of authorship.
Right.
Right? There's no need to, But then for copyright, because, you might want to keep your source code in the vault.
Yeah.
For example, trademarks are probably going to be very important.
Okay.
As once you get market share.
Right.
Yeah. So trademarks are not that expensive. Try to get it early.
Okay. So when you get market share and you start to get big and people are recognizing your name, you should start to think about trademarking.
Slightly before that would be good.
Slightly if you know tomorrow you're going to. Okay, that's cool. We do have some other questions that we want to ask. So for all these, how about outsourcing? So does all these fall under confidential information?
Confidential information is quite wide.
Right.
So yes, it can fall under confidential information. So when you say outsourcing, what exactly do you mean?
Say I outsource one part of my code to someone else.
Well, if you are commissioning someone to do it for you,
yes,
your developer's agreement has to be properly drafted.
Okay, so the developer's agreement will need to have all these clauses to protect your code.
Yes, and basically that even though the person is the author, he's being commissioned and paid to do it for the company.
Okay.
So the rights, the ownership has to fall back to the company.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, super important. So not sure if you understand like what we're trying to say here, which is all of these agreements, whether it's licensing agreements whether it's employment agreement, whether it's NDA, the different variations to it, right?
Yeah, there are different variations and they are needed in different circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, how does IP then affect fundraising?
Oh, well, if your company is well, if you're a hard tech company, for example, if you're a medical device, bioscience, obviously it will affect.
Okay.
You know, the worth of your company, and that will affect evaluation. Very important.
Right.
Your IP rights must be ironclad and protected. If you are, say, a semi-media tech, social media kind of company, then your value, your intrinsic value, besides your software, because your software is the one that enables you to reach out to people, there is also the execution, your market share, etc. So probably less important, but still important.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you are planning to, say, white label your software, it will still be something you need protection of.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. When I know that for patents, for example, you need to be very careful about timing, right? So if before you apply for application for a patent, and somehow your information about your technology gets out.
That's tough.
Okay.
Of course, it's no longer novel. But so the thing is, you can approach a small cluster of people that's in a professional setting to discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. But normally I would suggest keep it within the patent agents, the lawyers, and maybe a group of professionals, right?
Okay.
But don't bring your technology, which is supposed to be novel, and go around showing it to people.
Okay.
Yeah, don't post it on YouTube, please.
Don't post it on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen my client, but thankfully there was only one view, so my client took it down.
Okay.
Very important.
So another thing, when you come to, we're coming to the end of the Q&A. So let's talk a bit about exits.
Oh, exits. Okay.
Yes. Do founders need to think about exits while raising funds?
Of course, you must have the end in mind, right? You need to. Okay, so you have your 1, 2, 3 year plan, and then you have your very vague, but it still has to be there, long-term plan. Okay, so some of the founders that I know are not that ambitious. They like doing different projects, right?
Right.
So they say, okay, you know what, I'm quite happy to do a trade sale within 3 years to 5 years.
Okay.
Because they want to move on to something else.
Yeah.
Then once you have that expectations, right, it really reduces stress for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is structuring a fundraising for straight trade sale different from, a company like Uber who wants to keep who needs to
nobody knows
raising?
what Uber wants to do, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It still
you
hasn't
need
gone
to raise a lot of
it hasn't gone for IPO because it's not profitable. But when you get listed is just one of those exits.
Right.
Getting listed. Right?
Yeah.
There are pros and cons to getting listed.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure everyone would know. You need to be profitable. You need to have very, very clean books. You need to pay a lot of taxes for 3 to 5 years in a row, right?
Yes.
So that's just one exit. You could have a trade sale, if the trade sale is what you're after, then you'd be thinking, okay, in my line, who are the potential buyers, right?
Yes.
Some of my clients are really like
focused.
They're
on
really
trade
focused.
Sales. Yeah.
No, even if it's not trade sale, I mean, of course, that when you have different shareholders, everybody have a different idea. But everybody knows that we want to get how much X amount premium from our shares, our investment, right? So that could also be an indication. Not necessarily trade sale versus IPO, for example.
Right.
Yeah, so it's how big do you want to sell it for?
Okay.
Right. So
that's an important question.
Yeah.
Also, how big do you want to sell your company? If you're looking at trade sale, of course.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, for example, listing as a fundraising mechanism to grow the company further. So other things that we should not even touch, in some of our fundraising agreements, like term sheets and stuff. Which ones will make it more complicated?
Well, I started legal practice in a IPO team.
Yeah. IPO team.
IPO team, yeah. And then there are ways, the lawyers are very smart, the fundraisers are very smart, the underwriters are very smart. They will always find ways to make sure that it's okay to go for IPO.
Okay.
So, of course, the same things that you look out for to not impede your further rounds are the same thing for IPOs.
Right.
So, but you just have to know that to do an IPO, you need to be profitable and you pay taxes.
Okay.
That's the main thing. Yeah.
Okay. So audited. Okay, we have a question coming in from Jackie. Are audited books a typical requirement for fundraising?
Oh, audited would be a bit strange because most small companies are exempted, right, from audit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're an accountant, right?
Yeah.
You're trained
By
accountant.
training, I'm an
So
accountant
you
by
know.
training.
Yeah. So I don't think so, but your books have to be clean at least.
Yes, and
Yeah.
up to date.
Yeah, and up to date.
I think maybe one of the reasons why funds or companies ask for audited books because maybe they don't see that it's taken care of. So maybe that's why they ask.
They would then ask for at least an internal audit, maybe.
Correct.
I don't know. Yeah.
Correct.
That means you did a bad job doing your bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Which is bad.
So one of the things that I don't know, as a founder, right? Maybe to other founders, like to say that, and an accountant by training is to get an external auditor or an accountant actually to help you deal with the books first. So at arm's length, at least you can convince, for example, the investors that you're not the one that's doing all the numbers and.
Yes.
Yeah. So if there's someone external that's doing all the numbers for you, it's actually a way, right, to tell the investors or incoming investors that those are taken care of by someone else, and you're not the one that's creating the numbers on your own.
Yeah, I think from an investor's point of view, right, when you're doing due diligence on startups, honestly, there's not much to look at.
Yes.
From a legal point of view, it's just whether your relationships are properly sorted out. Okay, that's a legal duty. But I think what most investors are concerned about would be the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, you can find the earlier it's the same principle because accountants. So I'm sure you know, the earlier you start, the less mess there is to clean up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The cheaper accountants would be.
Yes.
Right? So fine. Okay, I have to say this. I think accountants are more important than lawyers. Right at the beginning. Okay? At the beginning.
They deal with your money.
Yeah. So get your accountant first in place. Yeah. And make sure that all the ins and outs are done properly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a startup with very little ins and outs, they find an accountant who's understanding and they won't charge you that much also.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Actually, these days you can find very reasonable accounting. Because they're using technology to help them lower the cost as well. Yeah. And also, I think when it comes to accounting, there's a few parts to it, right? One is your day-to-day bookkeeping.
Yes.
But you also need an accountant to really advise you on, for example, how you recognize your assets. If you're a web company, where your assets are, how you depreciate, for example, some of these assets that you have. And whether it makes sense to have them on your books at all, or should you?
You need to find somebody as smart as her. So she has
no.
very good ideas.
I can recommend some accountants if you want. So another question from Jackie: what are the key things that startup founders should look out for or consider in order to ensure that they remain in control after raising funds?
Control, right? So control I would say broadly there are two kinds of control.
Yeah.
One is on a shareholder level.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Shareholder level would then be your usual AGM, voting, etc. Right? And there are certain things that are by default.
Yeah.
That's stated in the Companies Act.
Okay.
So if you don't amend your constitution, it will be those default positions.
Yeah.
Okay? So things like, do we change our director, the remuneration of a director, etc. Okay? So that falls under the shareholders' purview. The second layer would be the management control, right? Which would be the director's level.
Yeah.
Right. So things that you have to look out for, just make sure that if you're at the early stages of fundraising, how much are you diluted, shareholdings wise?
Right.
Are you giving up a seat at the board? Singapore is basically one of those where you can have one director.
Yes, we're very lucky actually that we only need one director in companies. Yeah.
So when you're raising fund, you need to ask yourself, am I giving up a seat on the board? Which
will mean you're equally
and two
right.
people, it's not good to make decisions. Okay. So if you are giving up a seat to your investors,
make sure you have another director.
Yeah, make sure you have another director. So 3. Okay. So I think on a broad basis, these two levels that you should look out for.
Okay. Yeah. I guess in terms of shares wise, it would be like your simple majority and things like that. Okay. So we want to thank you for joining us here today. We want to give a quick shout out to our partners, E27, General Assembly, Startup Bootcamp FinTech Singapore, for helping us with this whole series of Facebook Live Q&A with lawyers. and we're very happy to have Ying here with us today. We will actually be writing an article from this Facebook Live with Ying, so it will be published in a week or two, so watch out for that. And also, for those who are looking at fundraising and you want to consult a lawyer, we do have a quick consult service on AsiaLawNetwork.com. So please just go to our website, AsiaLawNetwork.com, click on quick consult. You'll be able to see for startups, there's business advice. Feel free to pick from those lawyers, and you can actually get a consult from them. Also, I think Ying has shared some other information about what you should look out for in contracts. So you can read that from our website, so learn.asialawnetwork.com. There are many other articles which I think we have published earlier on, together with E27. So yes, thank you very much. So
thank you for coming to my office.
thanks for being here with us today.
Thanks,
we really,
Cherilyn.
really appreciate it.
Thank
you
you
very much.
See ya.
See you guys.
Merry Christmas, bye.
Merry Christmas. Bye.
Bye.
Great.
So hot. Okay, great.
Oh, oops.
Are we still alive?
Yes, we need to
Oh,
post.
hi.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Embarrassing.
Any other questions, please type in the comments box below, and we'll try to answer them in the article. And also to promote, of course, AsiaLawNetwork.com. We're here to provide access to legal services cheaply and conveniently. Not cheaply, affordably. Yes. And it's very important to get lawyers. So please remember to get a lawyer's advice before engaging in negotiations. Okay, so we're sleeping on.